Greg, we need to talk, my friend. Let's be honest. The fitness world loves extremes, especially when it comes to how many sets you should do. For maximum gains, there's a push to pile on volume indefinitely, all under the banner of evidence-based science. But in reality, the science has serious flaws. Today, I'm responding to an article by Greg Nuckols on his Stronger by Science website, which covers a meta-regression by Pelland and colleagues. We're exposing the truth about training volume, hypertrophy and strength, and the reasons you might be wasting your time on endless sets. You've heard it time and time again. Keep adding sets and your muscles will keep growing indefinitely. There's a linear relationship between volume and hypertrophy. Are there still any doubts? All that stuff. But here's the catch. Most of those so-called hypertrophy data behind the claim is based on temporary swelling, not true fiber growth. The strength data paints a different picture, one that shows a plateau at surprisingly moderate volume, the type which I talk about and recommend on this channel based on my experience of 10 years of coaching actual clients and getting them results. So the argument is this: as training volume goes up, hypertrophy just magically rises without an endpoint, just right into the atmosphere. But the research they lean on has a glaring flaw. It measures the muscle size at the end of high volume training sessions without allowing time for swelling to subside. You need a washout period. Fact is, I would say something like a 2-week washout period. Everybody does maintenance volume is very, very acceptable. That way we can get a proper reading. You measure it 2 days after the high volume training session when you've been doing that for weeks and weeks. What do you think is going to happen? When you do tons of volume, 3 things occur. Primarily, you get edema, fluid retention within the muscle. You also get glycogen supercompensation. This is extra glycogen and water all stored in your muscle. It's not true. And you also get an inflammatory response. That's your body's reaction to just excessive stress. Now, when you think about it, if your body's under that much stress because of all that volume, not only are you going to be holding water, but you're also probably going to be more susceptible to injuries. And that's something I hear a lot with all this high volume. And it's something I personally experienced as well. So let's just talk about swollen muscle versus true hypertrophy. Now, what they're calling gains, it's really just, it goes away once you stop hammering the body with insane volume. We're talking of volumes over 45 sets a week, 50, 60, insane amount. Even anything over 20 is excessive. That's why the strength data is so important. It's not influenced by transient swelling. And guess what? The strength data clearly shows a plateau at somewhere between 4 to 8 sets per body part per week. That's because real hypertrophy, the actual thickening of muscle fibers, underpins genuine strength gains. When strength stops going up, so does hypertrophy. This also explains why beginners can make progress with almost any amount of training. They're brand new. Everything is a stimulus. Advanced lifters, they're already near their neural and potential. So piling on a bunch of sets isn't going to magically skyrocket their gains. But what about intermediate lifters? Like, some people argue they need a bit more volume, something I've said in the past, and I still stand behind, but not for the reasons you might think. Intermediates are still solidifying their neural adaptations. They're getting better at motor unit recruitment, finding technique, and building that critical mind-muscle connection. That might mean going up to around 16 sets per week per body part, like I recommend. But don't get it twisted. Like, this isn't about piling on endless sets for more hypertrophy. It's about honing in neural learning, something beginners already get a lot of from the novelty effect, and advanced lifters have pretty much maxed out. So yeah, there's a sweet spot for intermediates, but that doesn't prove volume is an unlimited driver of muscle growth. It's just helping them nail the neural side. Now let's address a contradictory argument made in a Reddit thread by Greg in his defense of this article. He said, and I quote, "Strength gains are typically much larger on a relative basis than muscle size increases. For example, you might see a 5% increase in muscle size and a 20% increase in strength." This is what he's saying. Okay. Now, first of all, that statement completely contradicts what was shown in the study. The study showed actually a smaller effect of strength and a much larger effect on muscle growth. So that's completely irrelevant and completely wrong, and actually doesn't support the argument you are making. We know there are mechanisms for how you can increase strength to a certain extent without increasing size. Like, there's neurological adaptations, form improvements, all that kind of stuff, right? We get that. You can't just use that to say the relationship works the other way as well. That's a circular argument, Greg. It doesn't make any sense. You can't just say because one's true, the other's true as well. No, we have clear mechanism for why one way works. Yes, you can get more strength gains without corresponding size gains. Great, cool. We know that. We know the mechanism behind that. You can't just say because that's true, the other way is true as well. That cannot be your reasoning for why this works. It doesn't. Greg, so tell me, Greg, what is it? I'm here. Tell me, educate me. What is it then? What is accounting for all those endless magical size gains because strength isn't correspondingly moving up? What is it then? What are they seeing? A lot of people are saying it's cell swelling, which you rejected, and you went through great pains to explain why cell swelling, in your opinion, isn't right. Well, then what is it then? You're commenting on the study. Tell me, tell us. What is it? Because as far as we know, on a physiological basis, once the strength gains stop, there are no more size gains, because an increase in size is literally the thickening of the muscle fibers, and that is always going to result in an increase in strength. So without that relationship, how does it all work, Greg? What is your explanation? All that additional growth without the corresponding increase in strength. You can't just say because strength gains happen independent of muscle gains and the opposite is true. You know you can't say that, Greg. You're more intelligent than that. You know that argument doesn't hold up. Why does this flawed argument keep popping up? Because when they tell you more volume equals more gains, hate to say it, but there is a monetary incentive, because there are programs to sell, there is coaching to sell, there are ebooks, there are clicks, there are hits. It's marketing dressed up as science. By ignoring the washout period and conflating swelling with real growth, they make it look like massive volume is the secret. Now, before we continue, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Bootcamp. Listen, if you're serious about legitimate training, so good training, and you want the tools that can support your progress with routines written by good, credible coaches like myself, Bootcamp has exactly what you need. They will help you maximize your gain, both strength and hypertrophy, without the BS. So check out the link in the description for the info. By supporting them, you're also supporting the channel. So guys, this is the bottom line. Strength data shows plateaus somewhere between 4 to 8 sets per body part per week, hinting that true hypertrophy has a similar cap. Now, beginners can thrive on low volumes thanks to the novelty effect. Advanced lifters are already the point where they've maxed out their neural learning, so they don't really benefit from that extra volume. They can stick to lower volumes as well. So it all holds. Intermediates, they might push volume up a little bit, but not for endless hypertrophy, but it's to nail neurological adaptation. This is why with a lot of my guys, I have them doing especially higher bench press volumes, because typically the bench press responds to better and better motor learning. And finally, studies that claim hypertrophy just keeps up fail to account for temporary swelling, and they don't include a proper washout period. 2 days is not enough. You need like 2 weeks. Why aren't we doing that? What are you all afraid of? Just do 2 weeks of maintenance. Make it all even. And then you won't have to go on to it and defend this whole thing about cell swelling. And then you'll actually have an explanation. Because isn't the truth what we're about, guys? Isn't that what science is? Isn't that why we got into this? Because we're trying to figure out the truth. So why don't we do it right? So just to end, stop falling for the illusion that piling sets will equal continuous growth. Understand the difference between swelling and genuine muscle fiber growth. Recognize volume is a tool, but not an infinitely scalable one. And if someone's telling you otherwise, ask yourself, who benefits from that narrative? Because I can tell you what, it's not going to be you. So in conclusion, train smart if you're an intermediate. A moderate bump in volume can help to solidify those neural gains, but don't confuse that with endless hypertrophy. Let's keep it real here. True muscle isn't measured by how inflamed or waterlogged your muscles are after a marathon workout. It's measured by sustainable improvements in strength and fiber thickness. If you're ready to ditch the hype and stick to what actually works, hit that subscribe button, share your thoughts in the comments. How many sets have you tried before realizing it's not translating to real growth, or you got injured, or worse? Let's cut through the noise and focus on effective evidence-based training.